Okay, I'm back. It is the next morning, technically afternoon, so hopefully I'll have a bit more energy to read this stuff out.
What do you mean you haven't celebrated in years?
Mama and Papa stopped celebrating birthdays after you left. It was like we all forgot what a party was.
Well, I'm changing that. By the way, Minky Pie, I don't know when your birthday is. What is a birthday?
The Bakers fell silent, surprised at such a sentence.
Gosh, I never even thought about that. You see, Pinky, since we never celebrated our birthdays until you got your cutie mark, Mama and Papa wouldn't have ever given Minky a party or anything like that.
You mean you never got any presents or cake or balloons? For what purpose? I still don't understand.
Still can't do Trixie.
Of course, our family didn't, not until Pinky threw her first party.
Celebrate?
Minky asked, and then her eyes narrowed.
The day I was born? Every pony here in Ponyville celebrates their birthdays.
Also, sorry if you hear squeaking. That's my dumbass table and I can't figure out how to stop it. Because the leg is broken and I can't afford a new desk.
I'm usually the one that's for the parties.
What the fuck is crawling on my leg?
Did Mama ever tell you when your birthday was?
Minky shook her head shamefully. Despite this, Pinky giggled.
Well, we can't just not give you a birthday,
She protested.
I think we should give you a day. What's your favorite time of year, Minky?
The gray mare's frown became more pronounced, and she answered in a pout.
I don't want a birthday or a party.
The other bakers looked at her in surprise, and Pinky was the first to speak, being the most distraught.
What?
She cried out, making her eldest sister flinch.
No party? How come? Birthday parties celebrate one's birth. I should have never been born.
Okay, I feel like Minky would be kind of edgy at first, and then the other's teacher had her not be. Apple Bloom approached her, smiling sadly.
Oh, that's not true, Minky Pie.
She protested.
We're all glad that you were born, and we're all really lucky to have you in our lives.
Where's 15? Well, I guess that makes the renumbering easier when I eventually get to it. The sugar-coated tale of a peppy pie. Upon Shirley's request to educate ponies on the history of a location outside of Ponyville in the form of a school play, Apple Bloom gets the idea she thinks would make her fellow bakers happy. Her original suggestion was going to be, okay, I guess for Apple Bloom to be fucking Appaloosa or something. But she decides to go for rock country instead. After school, she tells the other bakers about the upcoming play, but Minky gets upset at her for glorifying the place, telling her that it's not all sunshine and rainbows. Apple Bloom immediately apologizes and says she can talk about Appaloosa instead. But Pinkie Pie says she thinks it's a great idea, meaning it'll be the chance to spread the word about their dear Granny Pie. Minky thinks it over and reluctantly agrees, and the Pie Sisters get to work putting together all the information they need. However, they pretend that Minky was in the family the whole time and undermine all the child abuse to keep it family friendly. And of course, they include Pinky's first party and exclude the murders. I need a drink. On Monday morning, Scootaloo... Okay, that should be Apple Bloom. Applebloom drops a stapled stack on Cheerly's desk that she managed to keep safe from Diamond Tiara and Silver Spoon. In fact, she's the first student there. Cheerly admits that she wanted to choose somewhere more interesting and simply hasn't told her students yet. She decides to go for rock country instead, surprised at how much time and effort Applebloom and her crew put into it. Later on, when the students are choosing which roles they want, Scootaloo tries her best to force herself to fly to be a good fairy cake, and Snips and Snails fight over who gets to play as Trixie. I can't actually remember who plays as Trixie. Diamond Tiara makes Limestone act bitchier than she really is, and Applebloom, getting defensive over her friend, ends up saying,
You should be Mrs. Pot instead because you're abusive.
she probably learned that word from the pies or something. Surely I can't really do a good impression, but I'll try.
I don't mean this in a bad way, dear, but
Okay, that's Mrs. Cake, never mind. What the fuck does she sound like? I don't give a shit, man. I don't mean this in a bad way, dear, but I was thinking of going for a location more interesting.
But it is interesting. Think about it. It's a boring, drab village that not one but two ponies try to breathe life into.
Two? I thought it was only Pinky. Why am I thinking of the Walton Files? I don't give a shit about the Walton Files. Applebloom's grin only widened, gently pushing her packet a bit closer to the mare. Oh, here we go, we got the play rolls. Well, I suppose it is a nice surprise that at least one of my students has put so much time and effort into their assignment. I'll read it during lunchtime, okay?
Yes, thank you, Miss Cheerly.
Play rolls. Granny Pie Scootaloo. Igneous Rock is Applebloom. Cloudy Quartz is Lily Longsocks, if you remember this girl. Okay. Yeah, this girl. I think she only appeared in the Crusaders Cutie Mark episode. Minky Pie. And Miss Cedar, you know what? I don't know. I'm just gonna remove that for personal reasons. Mod Pie's Featherweight, Marble Pie's Silver Spoon, Limestone Pie's Diamond Tiara, Pinkie Pie's Sweetie Belle, Trixie Snips, Mr. Cake Snails, Mrs. Cake Twist. Okay. Okay, calm before the storm. Okay, this is where I'm kind of iffy on the timeline. Like, I don't know if I want to keep this stuff or not. Shortly after finding out that Fluttershy is next on the list, the Bakers decided to hang out at Carousel Boutique with the main six, where they all had their little bonding moments. At one point, Rainbow Dash admits,
Okay, so I obviously don't like dresses, but the only reason I came here is because I'm worried any day might be our last. What if Sweetie Belle goes missing? What if Pinkie Pie goes missing? What if I go missing?
Every pony else agrees with her, though the Bakers find it amusing that Pinkie was mentioned. Later, she decides to make friendship bracelets for all her friends, made 5 to wear on one wrist, the Bakers to wear on the other, and hands them out to each of them. The Bakers had lived in Ponyville for about 4 months. Upon learning that Fluttershy was next on the list, the Bakers decided to set up a fun date where each of them, as well as Pinkie's friends, could hang out. Rarity had offered to set it up at Carousel Boutique. Tessa. Which every pony was excited for, save for Applejack and Rainbow Dash. Sweetie Belle found out about the arrangement very quickly, and Rarity decided to invite her as well as Applebloom, Scootaloo, so the two of them wouldn't be left out. In total, there were 13 ponies. And Rarity was determined to make sure that every single one of her guests had fun.
Hey, Rainbow Dash. Scootaloo, you're here?
I don't know why I'm having so much trouble with Rainbow Dash's voice. It's not normally this bad.
Yeah, Sweetie Belle found out about the playdate thing and Rarity didn't want to leave us out.
I don't know if it's just like morning voice fucking me over. I mean, I was having trouble last night too, so fuck me.
Well, I guess if you're here, it won't be so bad.
The Rainbow Pegasus responded, reveling in the filly's mane and making her giggle. At that moment, Fluttershy felt 2 hooves being thrown around her neck in an excited embrace, flinching and turning around to see Minky Pie grinning at her.
Oh, hello, Minky.
She said softly, smiling at the gray mare. Minky broke the hug, still grinning.
Hello.
She squeaked. Fluttershy gasped excitedly.
Wow, you talk now? Your voice is so cute.
Minky felt a bit flustered, but she forced herself to continue talking.
And something I've been wanting to tell you is, your mane is really pretty.
Fluttershy felt her heart melt immediately.
Aw, thank you.
She cooed.
Not as pretty as Rainbow Dash's, though.
Fluttershy was taken aback. I forgot I wrote this.
Oh. Goodness, Minky Pie, I've never heard your voice before.
Rarity commented, walking up to them. Minky immediately pursed her lips and blushed, feeling awkward.
I don't think she's as used to talking to you girls.
Fluttershy suggested. It's hot in here. Minky nodded frantically, staring down at the floor. I mean, motherfucker. Can you just be normal for once? No, not there, you ass. I'm gonna kill myself. Apple Bloom, you motherfucker. I blame you for everything, including your parents' death. Meanwhile, Apple Bloom announced to her fellow Crusaders that she was going to stand outside and wait for more of their friends to arrive. Apple Bloom? Why does it say that? Did it say that before? So Sweetieville and Scootaloo decided to introduce themselves to Marble.
Hey, you're Minky and Pinky's sister, right?
I haven't had practice with Scootaloo for a while, so that's why it sounds ass. The mayor turned around and faced her, her expression blank. Yes, I'm Marble, she replied. That over there is Limestone, my twin. She pointed to the pony standing on the other side of the room, speaking with Pinky and Applejack. And that is Maud, my another sister. Minky's twin. And that is Maud, Minky's twin. She pointed to Maud, who was looking at various fabrics as Rarity talked her ear off. Who are you girls, though? You look familiar.
I'm Sweetie Belle,
The unicorn greeted.
Rarity's little sister and one of Apple Bloom's best friends.
Scootaloo. Our other best friend.
This is Scootaloo, our other best friend. Rarity helped me make a Cutie Mark Crusader cape for Minky.
Marble raised an eyebrow, tilting her head. Cutie Mark Crusader? She replied, clearly confused. She mentioned something about that, but I don't remember what the hell it is. Caught off by the curse, Scootaloo. Scootaloo ignored it, grinning excitedly.
It's a little group that Apple Bloom, Sweetie Belle, and I recently formed to help ponies get their cutie marks,
She explained.
Of course, there's only 4 members right now. We haven't had much luck. But if you ever come across a pony without a cutie mark, let us know.
The reason she mentions 4 members instead of 5 is because, Babs hasn't been introduced to the show yet, so, yeah. Before Marble could further contribute to the conversation, Limestone Pie walked up to them, her facial expression also blank.
So, what's going on?
She asked her sister. And I don't know what's gonna happen there, so whatever. The sweetest silence. I believe this is Fluttershy's torture story. In the middle of putting her hoof down, Pinkie Pie decides to throw a party for Fluttershy to improve her attitude, but she ends up insulting Pinkie's sisters individually, making Limestone understandably angry. She tries to attack Fluttershy, but Maud quickly holds her back. Pinkie trots up to them and asks what's going on. So Marble explains what happened, and Pinkie immediately becomes shocked and irritated, deciding it's time to end the party and enact Plan B. Get the fuck out of my way. When Fluttershy is being tortured, she tries just desperately to explain the situation with Iron Will. After she's killed and reported missing, all the ponies from the boutique are questioned by the royal guards. Now, I've been thinking about Fluttershy maybe escaping, and then since she's Fluttershy, she just doesn't tell anyone. And it'd be nice if she and Minky, and Apple Bloom, all ran away and went away from the bakers, and maybe the bakers get arrested, and the other three live as a happy family. Maybe. I don't know yet. That's probably how it's going to go down, though. She tilted her head and cooed menacingly.
I want to play with little Fluttershy.
That's a good idea, seeing as how she seems to have taken a liking to you.
Pinkie's loud, squeaky voice contrasted against her sister's soft, whisper-like tone, and as a result, their fellow bakers have been startled. As to join... Oh, the burning a heart thing, I forgot about that. That's usually used for, the main six, and... Do I torture the other Crusaders? I don't think so. I'm pretty sure they both move away with their parents before that can happen. Fluttershy's gaze moved from the morbid decorations, then her insane friend Pinkie. Okay. Then her friend Pinkie Pie, and finally to Minky. That sweet, sweet Minky.
What happened to her?
She thought.
I'm clearly not their first victim, so when did this start? How long has Minky been a part of this? And what about Apple Bloom and Trixie?
Limestone was the first to notice the tears falling from the Pegasus's eyes.
Why are you already crying? She grumbled. We haven't even done anything to you yet.
Fluttershy avoided her gaze.
It's just that...
In an attempt to look at Minky Pie, she turned her head ever so slightly, which was difficult to do because of her bindings.
Minky, just something happened to you? You used to be so nice.
The gray mare blinked slowly, tilting her head.
Yes, as a matter of fact, something did happen to me.
It is so hard to write Minky Pie, without just making her an entirely different character. But her original dialogue is so annoying. She said calmly.
Not recently, though, but has stuck with me throughout most of my life. Aside from Pinkie, of course, you're the only one of your friends that deserves to know this.
She cleared her throat and closed her eyes.
When I was a filly, my parents didn't like me very much. Inky Pie, Marble, was just a baby.
I should mention that these Inky, Pinky, Blinky names they all originate from Granny Pie, so those aren't actually their names, their middle names. Minky's middle name is Dahlia, I believe. Maud's is Daisy, in canon. Marble's is Dorothy, Limestone's is Daphne, and Pinky's is, of course, still Diane. Because I thought it would be cute if all of them started with a D.
And the rest of my sisters hadn't even been born yet.
Okay, sometimes you can tell this is before I made them twins.
Along with Limestone, and the rest of my sisters hadn't even been born yet. My violent actions and disturbing thoughts scared my mom and papa oh so very much, even though it was the result of their parenting techniques.
I don't think the Pie parents have been killed yet.
They were terrified that I was going to hurt my infant sisters, and decided to try and keep me away from them. Of course, I still wanted to meet
Them.
happy that I could have made a new friend.
A motherfucker.
I desired to protect them from our horrid parents, but Mama and Papa had a different plan in mind. Historically, a disappointments room is exactly what it sounds like. It's meant to keep the freaks and broken ponies hidden away from the rest of the world out of shame from their families.
Now, I don't actually know if a disappointments room is real. I know there's like a movie based on it. I've never seen it, so.
So, I was locked down there for a whole 2 decades. The day my mother locked me down there, she informed me that any future siblings I might have would be forbidden to enter the master bedroom, which was connected to the basement I was locked in. Though, Mama and Papa couldn't hide me anymore when my sister's curiosity got the better of them, and I was finally rescued from a life of misery and loneliness. I am grateful for what they have done.
Upon opening her eyes, she immediately noticed Fluttershy staring at her with tears pouring down her cheeks.
Thankfully, though,
Continued the baker, unaffected.
my sisters and I eventually got our revenge on our parents for all the wrongdoings they committed over the years.
Okay, I guess they did kill them already? No, because Chip off the Old Rock, that's the murder story, okay. Will eventually get our revenge on their parents.
My sisters and I will eventually get our revenge on our parents for all the wrongdoings they had committed over the years. As you might have already guessed, we will kill them and their cupcakes will be delicious. They will be deep in hell like they've always deserved. So, Fluttershy, you were wrong about me this whole time. I've been killing ponies with my fellow bakers right underneath your very nose, and you're going to be one of our victims.
Not knowing how else to cope with Fluttershy's betrayal, Fluttershy suddenly... Did I say Fluttershy's betrayal? Minky's betrayal. It's really funny to get betrayed by Fluttershy. Fluttershy suddenly began bawling, closing her eyes tight. The other mare's next words burned right through her heart.
I didn't care that much about you,
She admitted.
My sisters and friends are far more important to me. For the most part, I was only using you to help me cope with the real world.
To help me, okay. If I do decide to go with the Fluttershy family route, then I imagine this is just a lie, because the other bakers are there listening to her.
In case you haven't noticed, I'm not a good pony. None of us are.
After a moment of silently watching her victim cry pathetically, she moved to the tool tray, grabbing a scalpel on her hoof and turning to face Pinkie Pie.
I assume you want one of the cutie marks, yes?
She asked.
Yep.
Pinkie replied cheerfully. What is she, fucking Ducky from Land Before Time? Pinkie gave her an evil grin, her eyes still half glittered. She swiftly turned to face Fluttershy again, carving a circle around one of her cutie marks and making the Pegasus scream hysterically for her to stop, flailing desperately in her binds.
Stop struggling!
Minky snarled between gritted teeth. The other cutie mark was removed, and then Minky grabs the hacksaw.
Aren't we having fun?
She cooed.
I know I am.
Fluttershy could only whimper in reply, so Minky giggled softly.
Don't be scared. I don't bite. Or do I?
Without warning, she jerked Fluttershy's wing away from her body and began violently sawing at the base, causing pink sparkly blood to gush out of the wound. Okay, this is back when I wanted all blood to just be pink and sparkly. I guess Fluttershy's color would be... I don't know... teal... pastel teal blood to gush out of the wound. Her loud, psychotic cackling was just barely audible above her victim's throat-shutting screeches. Her fellow baker stared at the scene in awe, hardly able to believe that these were the two ponies smiling and giggling together during a tea party, or sitting in a meadow watching for birds and butterflies. This was a complete and utter nightmare, almost as if it had been ripped straight from Fluttershy's night terrors. Despite this, it made their skin crawl with sadistic ecstasy, proud of how far the eldest baker had come. Fluttershy did.
You know, I actually did like her for a while there. It was hard not to. She was very sweet and always eager to help me with anything. I enjoyed being friends with her, yes, but after a while, what little platonic feelings I had for her began to fade out. That's why I was able to kill her.
Okay, I don't even know if that's possible, so I assume the same thing will happen with Sweetie Belle and Apple Bloom by the time their numbers come up. In fact, my care for them has already started to fade. Okay. I'm gonna delete that. Rainbow Dash goes to Fluttershy's cottage in the search for her, only to find a cardboard box on her front doorstep. She approached the box, discovering that a foul smell was emanating from inside. It had been taped shut, so there was no sort of writing anywhere on it. Dash knocked on the door, but she didn't receive a response, even after waiting for a solid minute. I don't know, I feel like Rainbow Dash wouldn't be able to do that, her fucking ADHD ass. Assuming it was a plant-related gift from Sakura, she didn't want to open Fluttershy's mail. But the smell was growing stronger now that she was close, and it was starting to make her feel nauseous. She exhaled sharply and began to pry the tape off the box, only to uncover a horrific sight inside. Fluttershy's severed head, a note placed in her mouth. Horrified, the Pegasus let out a high-pitched shriek as she stumbled backward onto her haunches. Even after all the racket, there was still no sound from inside the cottage. Okay, racket is like a colloquialism for noise. And the area around said home was dead silent. Whimpering softly, Rainbow Dash hesitantly got to her hose, forcing herself to stare at the head.
Fluttershy?
She croaked.
No, 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 no!
Her friend's once vibrant eyes were now glazed over, partially rolled into the back of her skull, and contained multiple stab wounds. Okay, the stab wounds are because she tried to use the stare. So, I'm wondering if I should remove one eye like in original Muffins, or both eyes. Even her mane was disheveled and mostly hacked off. Something was off about her eyes. Looking more closely, Rainbow discovered that it was almost as if they'd been torn out and shoved back into the mare's head. Very hesitantly, she pried the note from in between Fluttershy's teeth, letting out an involuntary squeal of disgust when her wrist accidentally touched the decaying flesh. Holding the note to her face, she saw a handful of words written in what looked like blood. She didn't recognize the hoof writing. This is what happens to the missing ponies. Who's your friend now, Discord? Rainbow Dash felt an icy chill spread throughout her body as she thought back on all the ponies that had mysteriously vanished over the last several months. Stallions and mares alike, and even children. No babies, surprisingly, but it was only a matter of time before Scootaloo was snatched up too, as well as the remaining elements of Harmony. Letting the note fall back into the box, she haphazardly placed the lid back on, not even bothering to close it up all the way before she swiftly turned away from the house and vomited it on the path. I do like the scene here, so if I decide to do the Fluttershy thing, then maybe it'll be like her brother's head or something like that. I don't know. Unless I already have a dedicated story for Zephyr Breeze, but I don't think I do. I mean, who wouldn't want to kill him, honestly? 19. I don't remember what this is. Okay. So, my version of Twilight, she gets pretty paranoid, and, like, nobody believes her when she says that, like, she thinks maybe the Pye sisters are behind it. Twilight's birthday arrives, and her friends try desperately to get her to leave the house and come to Sugar Cube Corner for the party. Meanwhile, Minky catches Limestone writing a note for the other bakers explaining that she's about to go outside and explore Ponyville for a few hours. After Minky asks what she's doing, Limestone simply hands her the note and says,
"See if you can read this for me."
After struggling with a few words, Minky successfully reads the note out loud and asks Limestone if she can go with her. The younger sister admitting that it would be a good opportunity to not only learn what things are, but to receive some sunlight. She then suggests they take a camera with them so Minky can start a scrapbook for her discoveries. Blinky then leads Minky to an open field where rabbits and squirrels are known to hang out, and ends up showing her how to take pictures on the camera. That night, the bakers decide to have a slumber party. Pinky, Apple Bloom, and Trixie are delighted to teach the sisters about activities that should happen. Which is funny because I've never been to a slumber party. I've slept over at people's houses, but that doesn't really count. At one point, they watch a horror movie, and Minky's completely enamored by it. If you have any suggestions for titles, then I would like to hear them. Endeavor Never Breaks. Summary. Having kept it in the classroom closet with Shirley's permission, Scootaloo excitedly shows off her scooter and show and tell at school, finally coming to terms with her disability and realizing that she can inspire other disabled ponies to follow their dreams. She then gets her cutie marked, much to the class's delight, who claps, and Diamondura makes a comment that Scootaloo's talent is being disabled. For once, Shirley finally notices the bullying and tells her off, forcing her to go sit in the corner. Apple Bloom, not yet satisfied with Diamondura's punishment, decides to invite her to her quinceañera motherfucker. The Scootaloo's quinceañera that day after school to try and improve her attitude. As expected, the party doesn't work, so she decides to draw Diamondura's number early and add Silverspoon to the mix so neither of them can mock any pony anymore. After a few minutes of torture, Apple Bloom changes her mind and knocks both of them out, forcing them to torture each other inside of a large cage with a table full of tools inside. As you can tell, this is inspired by the Final Crusade in Muffins. I don't feel like reading all this. Okay, so Apple Bloom isn't alone here, I guess, because Trixie is there. Okay, I believe this is when the play is done. Cheerilee's class is ready to put on their play for all of Ponyville. Scootaloo, in costume, has a chat. No, that's right, Apple Bloom. Apple Bloom, in costume, has a chat with Pinkie Pie backstage, who encourages her and quells her stage fright. A spotlight falls on one of the children toward the end of the play to justify the title. I believe that's inspired by Cheerilee's Garden. I could be wrong, though. I thought Cheerleader's garden was kind of mid.
What if Pinky's luring those missing ponies into Sugar Cube Corner and baking them into cupcakes?
That's just her being an edgy little kid. So she doesn't actually know.
What? What if all those pastries she shares with the town have little bits of pony in them, and we've been eating them? Pinkie Pie would never do that. Fluttershy's gone missing. Why would she kill one of her own friends? No need to look so scared, Apple Bloom. I made it up. Oh, right. That makes way more sense. That would be scary if it was true. You'd never know who to trust. Yeah, terrifying.
Why is it so fucking hot in here? My god. Okay, now we're getting to the Pie Parents' torture story. It had been almost 8 months since Pinkie Pie had reunited with her sisters.
Apple Bloom, I have something awful to tell you.
Okay, this was already stated. So, Apple Bloom should already know that story. Mrs. Cake knew exactly how to get Aeneas and Cloudy to listen to her. Use their religion against them. She knew for sure they wouldn't come to Ponyville just to make amends with their daughters. They weren't exactly delighted to see her and her husband arrive on the farm. But they allowed her into the house regardless. They allowed them. Stupid. After a short talk, Cloudy admitted she had a secret to share with her guests, which surprised them. She then led them down the hall to the Pie sisters' old bedroom, opening the door. That's when Mr. and Mrs. Cake noticed a shocking sight in the far corner next to the window, a baby cradle. It looked to be the same one that every single sister had once slept in. After exchanging a glance with Cloudy, Mrs. Cake walked up to it and peeked inside to find a tiny brown-colored filly peacefully gnawing on a plush toy. Her short, straight mane and tail were a pale two-tone blue, and her shiny eyes, filled with so much life and joy, stared up at her with an immense curiosity. "This is our daughter, Smoky Quartz," Cloudy said bluntly, still standing in the doorway. "Our only daughter." A vibe of tension settled into the room.
Right,
Mrs. Cake said softly, trying not to acknowledge the statement.
May I hold her?
Cloudy clicked her tongue and turned her head away. "You may." Mrs. Cake took a deep, silent breath and reared up on her hind legs, gently grabbing the filly out of the cradle before sitting down on the floor. "Where's Igneous?" she asked in a small voice, meeting Smoky's magenta eyes. The newborn felt comforted by her voice, reaching up with both hooves in an attempt to get closer to her. Ow. Cloudy sighed, still avoiding her sister-in-law's gaze. "He is outside working, of course, like a good husband and a good stallion," she rambled, and Mr. Cake grimaced. "I see all the pastry over the years has gone to your brains, Chiffon." she then muttered under her breath. And your flanks? Mrs. Cake scowled a bit at these words. The older mare was exactly like she remembered. However, she kept her eyes on the filly in her arms, wondering if Igneous and Cloudy had already discussed having a 7th child? 7th. Wouldn't it only be the 6th? Okay. Minky, Maud, Inky, Blinky, Pinky. Okay, never mind, I understand. I'm retarded. Wondering if Igneous and Cloudy had already discussed having a 7th child. Were they too old? How hard did they try just to get this one? If Smokey didn't get any siblings, who would protect her from her own parents? There was no Granny Pie, and there would be no Uncle Carrot and Auntie Siobhan. Smokey's sisters were saving her from a childhood of heartbreak and trauma, and they didn't even know she existed. Yet. Mrs. Cake gave the baby a sad smile before carefully handing her over to her husband, standing up and walking across the room over to Cloudy Quartz. I came here to talk to you about something important, she explained. I heard a voice last night in my dreams. I think you know who it was. He asked me to come here to bring you to Ponyville. Cloudy finally looked at her, contemplating her words. I'm curious. Did he say what? She said slowly, unsure if she should believe it. A determined look appeared on Mrs. Cake's face. He wants you and Igneous to make amends with your daughters, or you will not be allowed into heaven, she went on. They can't come here. They can't come here. The voice specifically said for you to go to Ponyville. He didn't tell me why. It seemed urgent, though. He wanted us there by tonight. That's when Mr. Cake put Smoky Quartz back into the cradle and approached them. I think it's a good idea to go. You don't want to upset him. Okay, I don't think Mr. and Mrs. Cake are religious like the Pie parents. And then thought, though you've already upset your daughters enough. Claudia thought for a moment before giving them a nod. Right, I'll do it, she said reluctantly. I'll have that teenage cult from a farm over watch the house while we're gone. Nightfall had finally arrived. Each of the Pie sisters were gathered in Pinky's bedroom, eagerly awaiting their parents' arrival. All except Minky Pie, who had asked Marble to read a book to try and quell her anxiety. Meanwhile, Pinky had been bouncing around the room for the past few minutes since the sun had gone down, having only stopped once to take a breath. Reaching the end of the chapter, Marble met her older sister's eyes. Do you think you're ready? She asked gently. Minky blinked slowly, thinking it over.
I'm not sure, but I at least feel a little bit better. Not great, but...
She decided not to finish the sentence, simply struggling. I can't fucking read. What is wrong with me? Finally, Pinky stopped bouncing, giving herself time to breathe before she skipped over to the sisters.
I don't get it,
she said.
I haven't felt this excited since you girls moved to Ponyville. Why don't you feel the same?
What, did nothing happen in 8 months, Pinkie Pie? Minky's frown became more pronounced, unsure of how to answer. Maud shook her head and explained. You've got to understand, she hasn't seen Mama and Papa in many years either, yes. But you were left on a good note and she wasn't. She's also not like us and grew up learning how to defend ourselves.
Oh, I'm sorry, Minky. I didn't think of it that way.
Pinky said, her brow furrowed in guilt. Minky stood up, which was Marble's cue to close her book, making a mental note of the page number.
It's okay. I shouldn't be afraid anyway,
she protested.
They're going to be tied down and thus can't hit me. We could even cut their tongues out to prevent them from yelling at us or saying terrible things. It's just... seeing them after so long,
She exhaled sharply and muttered.
It's mostly Papa.
Limestone chuckled evilly.
He doesn't scare me anymore, she cooed. In fact, it seems I scare him. But don't worry, Minky. I understand that you're afraid, despite them being tied down and vulnerable. I don't blame you for that. I'm sure the rest of us are all a little scared too, deep down.
Words of agreement rang out among their sisters, even Pinky, and Minky smiled a bit, feeling reassured. Upon hearing the sound of footsteps walking up the stairs, they looked over to see Mrs. Cake.
All right, every pony, I managed to get them here,
she announced.
I got them to drink tea with sleeping powder in it, and now they're unconscious in the basement.
Pinky couldn't help but chirp
Woohoo!
as she bounced over to the blue mare, throwing her arms around her in a quick hug before trotting over to the secret entrance to the party cave. Before she could pull the lever, Mrs. Cake grabbed her by the tail with her teeth.
I've also got something else down there, but I think you're going to be in for a shock,
she said hesitantly. Each of the sisters exchanged glances, but Pinky merely shrugged and said,
I think it'll be fine.
before finally pulling the lever and jumping onto the slide without hesitation. Her last word on the way down was an echoing,
Whee! Right, I guess that's our cue.
Limestone said awkwardly, watching as Mrs. Cake walked back down the stairs.
Let's go see what this mysteriously, allegedly shocking object is. Who wants to go next?
Maud approached the entrance of the slide, then Limestone, then Marble. Before the last sister left, Minky informed her,
I'll be right back. I need to go talk to Trixie and Applebloom, okay?
Minky gave her a nod before pushing herself down the stairs, letting gravity do the rest. There had been a camera on a tripod pointed at the sleeping victims. The pies were all gathered in the basement, staring in horror at a cradle sitting in front of the bone table. It wasn't the one that had been at the rock farm, but rather Pumpkin Cake's whole cradle. Okay, Pumpkin Cake doesn't exist, so I'm gonna say fucking twist. Its color scheme more bright and lively. There was a note attached to the butterfly mobile that read, Dear girls, your parents had a baby while you were gone. Her name is Smoky Quartz and she was born a month ago. She seems to be very calm. I can only assume they did this because they pretty much lost all their children and wanted to start fresh. Even though they're probably too old to be having babies anyway. I hate to say it, but Claddy said that Smoky was her only daughter. But I'm sure you've already disowned her by now, so I suppose it doesn't really matter. I managed to convince her and Igneous to bring Smoky here rather than leaving her at home with a babysitter. As Mr. Cake and I secretly decided to adopt her after their deaths and legally change her name to Toffee Cake. Unless you have a better suggestion? After you have your fun, we can discuss whether or not to pass the business down to her. With everlasting love, Mrs. Cake. There was a tiny scribble of a heart next to her signature. Limestone was the first to speak up.
Fuck! I can't believe Mama got pregnant,
she hissed.
Stupid old bat. It was her and Papa's fault that we turned out this way, not ours. Why were they surprised that we all left?
Pinkie Pie held out a hoof for the baby to grab. The fuck's going on there? That was bold for some reason. It's weird. Pinkie Pie held out a hoof for the baby to grab.
Is it weird that I feel bad for her?
She asked hesitantly.
Toffee, I mean, not any pony else.
Not at all,
Maud chimed in.
It makes me sick to think this baby narrowly avoided being forced to go through the torment that we have.
Marble heaved a sigh. Fortunately, I couldn't think of a better who's for this child to be in than the Cakes. I'm surprised I didn't name her Silver Lining or something.
Ooh, that's a fantastic name.
Pinkie chirped.
That's to be her suggestion. Pinkie about Silver Lining.
The remaining... What the fuck did I just say? I think my furniture started floating after that. The remaining Pie sisters either giggled or nodded their heads in agreement. That's when the basement door opened, and their gazes all snapped to Minkie Pie descending the stairs. Trixie and Applebloom following close behind. Pinkie Pie frowned, hesitantly walking up to them.
Oh,
she said awkwardly, her voice having less energy than usual.
Girls, my sisters and I are about to start something. You're a bit late. Do you need something?
Minkie placed a hoof on her shoulder.
I hope you and the others don't mind, but I've invited these two to bake with us tonight.
There was a moment of tense silence in the room. Are you sure? Came Marble's gentle voice. Minkie turned to her.
I've never been more sure about anything.
she admitted, before glancing down at Apple Bloom.
I even gave them permission to leave at any time for any reason.
That's when she noticed her sister standing in a circle, Pinky's previous spot giving Minky a view of the cradle.
What is that?
She asked, though she already knew what it was. Feeling angry, nervous, sad, and excited all at the same time, she hesitantly approached the cradle and peeked inside. Upon seeing her face, Smoky Quartz immediately squealed in delight, which made Minky's heart skip a beat. Pinky bounced over to the circle of ponies, Limestone and Maud parting to let her through. She then pressed her nose up against the letter and read it out loud, Minky scowling the whole time as she stared at the baby's face. Despite this, she blinked once Pinky had finished reading, her expression becoming more curious than annoyed.
So, what do you think, Minky?
Limestone hesitantly asked. To the baker's relief, a smile came to the oldest pony's face.
I like her. Toffee Cake is a better name than Smoky Quartz.
That's when Maud chimed in.
We decided to name her Silver Lining. Do you like it?
And Minky grinned in response.
Trixie, could you take the baby up to Mr. and Mrs. Cake's room?
Limestone announced.
I think it's time to turn the lights out.
By the way, I don't know, maybe Fluttershy fucking kidnaps Smoky Quartz or Silver Lining or whatever the hell her name is. And I imagine the Pies are pretty upset, but it's for the best. Trixie approached them and, ever so carefully, levitated the cradle and carried it up the basement stairs. After waiting for her to return, each of the bakers blew out the candles nearest to them, and the room was plunged into darkness. Within minutes, Cloudy Quartz began to began to stir awake, her last moments before blacking out suddenly coming back to her. She didn't even register the sound of a tiny beep a few feet in front of her. That would be the camera. That tea, it was surely drugged, she thought. She then realized that she was not lying in a bed, but rather a cold metal table, and she was strapped down by her hooves and abdomen. And forehead. Hooves, abdomen, and forehead. All four legs had been stretched out to give her skin easier access, and the lack of modesty made her blush in embarrassment. I thought I was supposed to make amends with my daughters. What is going on? Have I been kidnapped? Why is it so dark in here, and why does it smell terrible? That's when she saw a tiny red light. It had been the source of the beep. Little did she know this was the baker's camera filming what was about to go down. Hello, is anybody there? Came the voice of her husband. Although it was pitch black, she attempted to look in the direction of his voice. Finding her forehead was also tied down. Okay, fuck me then. And Igneous? I can't move, she said fearfully. She heard the rattling sound of Igneous attempting to break himself free of chains, and then he suddenly grunted in pain. Neither can I, he replied. And something is going through my motherfucker. Something is going through my arms and legs. It feels like chains. Why just one of us? At that moment, they heard the sound of Minky's soft giggling in the darkness. Who's there? Demanded Igneous.
Don't you recognize my voice, Papa?
The stallion took a moment to do so, but before he could say anything, Minky continued.
I suppose not. I'm all grown up now.
She approached her father, her hoofsteps being masked by the dirt floor.
Mrs. Cake brought you two here for a reason.
Igneous flinched at the sound of her voice getting closer, which made her grin evilly. She reveled in his fear, knowing that it was only going to get better as the night went on.
My sisters and I asked her to, not your silly little imaginary friend. Trixie, would you mind lighting the candles for us?
She cooed softly. They heard the faint sound of the unicorn's horn lining up, Trixie's face and neck getting slightly illuminated.
This is your time to pay. This is your judgment day.
Pinky sang, her voice eerie and chilling.
We made a sacrifice and now we get to take your life.
Okay, I'm not really a good singer, so especially if I'm doing a voice. Trixie walked over to the tool tray and, using her magic, lifted up a corner of the cloth, retrieving a match. Igneous and Cloudy watched intently as she struck it and proceeded to light each of the candles in the room. Stop that, you dumb fan. Ugh. Alright, you know what? I'm gonna turn the ceiling fan on. In the process, the pitch-black room grew brighter and brighter, revealing the other bakers one by one who were standing in various places. Are you summoning something? Cloudy managed to force out, flinching when she was met with sadistic cackles from the girls. Now that the room was lit up, she was able to see that the table she was strapped through had a few bloodstains on it, some old and some new, and her husband was indeed chained to the wall to her left, a few of said chains going through his arms and legs. Once the laughter died down, Minky frowned and cleared her throat to get everybody's attention.
Girls, let me tell you a little story.
She started.
Long ago, even before my imprisonment, Mama began to grow very fat. I thought she had just been eating a lot, which confused me because we didn't have a lot of food to begin with. Papa didn't seem to mind, which I also found strange. In fact, both of them became a great deal happier than before Mama's belly grew. Being completely uneducated, I was unaware that she was not fat, but carrying a little full inside her.
Or should I say 2?
Or should I say 2?
Maud's brow furrowed in realization upon hearing these words, but she chose not to interrupt her sister.
Of course, I never asked, and Mama explained nothing.
Minky went on.
Then one night, several months later I'd say, I heard her and Papa talking in their room, and I heard the word Philly. I thought that maybe they were talking about me again, and how I was a weird and scary fool. But I was proven wrong. Their door was open ever so slightly, so I peeked in and saw a cradle with a newborn filly sleeping peacefully.
Peeked in and saw a double cradle? 2 newborn fillies.
Mama and Papa were still just as happy as before, if not more so. It was a strange sight, so for a moment I thought I was dreaming.
Let's call them innocent. Let's call them Marble, Dorothy, Pie, and Pie. Motherfucker, that's not a P.
I watched them curiously, wondering where the baby had come from.
The babies. Yeah. I'm gonna kill myself.
Then Mama said, let's call them Marble Dorothy Pie and Limestone Daphne Pie. Papa asked her if she was sure she didn't want to name her after me.
Okay, so I believe Minky's real name is Moonstone? Moonstone Dahlia Pie? Let's just erase that, because it doesn't really make sense.
I stared at the tiny ponies and figured that...
Hold on.
I stared at the tiny ponies and figured they must be modernized new sisters.
Feeling sorry for themselves, Igneous and Cloudy exchanged glances, surprised that Maggie remembered that day so vividly. What the fuck is that sound? I think it's a trash truck, but it sounds like a goddamn dinosaur. The trash truck doesn't even run today, what the fuck?
I was excited.
Minky stated.
I imagined myself playing with them, giving them rides on my back, snuggling with them at nap time. I was thrilled to have a new sibling, and possibly a new friend. But that didn't happen.
Okay, I'm kinda out of it, so I'll read the rest of this later. And welcome back. I think this is part 4. I don't remember where I left off, so I'm just gonna reread the paragraph. Feeling sorry for themselves, Igneous and Cloudy exchanged glances, surprised that Minky remembered that day so vividly. Tessa. She's already messing with my recording.
I was excited.
Minky stated.
I imagined myself playing with them, giving them rides on my back, snuggling with them at nap time. I was thrilled to have a sibling, and possibly a new friend. But that didn't happen.
She took a deep breath in an attempt to maintain her composure.
Mama finally noticed me peering in through the crack in the door, and she walked up to me. She didn't look happy to see me at all, so I was frightened. You're not allowed to come in this room. If you go anywhere near them, there will be serious consequences. Then the door slammed shut. I guess she was right.
Minky could feel her eyes brimming with tears as she recalled the memory.
Just a moment before, I had been smiling the widest smile that had ever graced the face of a pie, and in an instant, it was taken away.
Not noticing the tears in her fellow baker's eyes, she snapped her gaze to her mother, her eyes blazing with hatred.
I was ready to love,
she muttered, slowly walking up to the table.
I am capable of love, just like any pony else.
She hissed the last 4 words under her breath, making every pony's fur stand up on end. I do not trust you, Cloudy admitted in a shaky voice. I expected you to maim your sisters. And with that, tears began to stream down Minky's cheeks.
Oh yes, a newborn foal brought into this hell we call a world, brought into the hooves of parents who may begin to dislike their own daughter for the second time.
I'm trying to be quiet here because it's only it's not even 10 a.m. yet, she exclaimed, which made the others flinch.
I knew she could potentially suffer as I did, cast aside because she was not taught right from wrong.
I didn't mean to right click.
I was going to protect her from you.
Oh, hold on. Everyone falls onto this hill. I think that's fine the way it is.
When I was locked away in that horrible little room, I thought day in and day out about what it would have been like to grow up with them and protect them from you.
Protect them. Cloudy was utterly terrified.
We were scared of you, Moonstone,
She squeaked.
So you never tried to fix me?
Screeched Minky, her eyes filled with fury.
I was a filly, in case you forgot. It's a parent's responsibility to teach their young, to prepare them for the real world. Well, here's the real world, Mama and Papa. The real sick, filthy world that I was brought into. And don't fucking call me Moonstone ever again.
Getting her teeth, it took her a moment to catch her breath, as she was not used to exerting so much energy. And when she did, she wiped her tears away on the back of her hoof. Even the other bakers were frightened, Apple Bloom having hidden behind Pinkie Pie. Her face still as blank as ever, Maud walked up next to her sister, deciding to question their parents next.
Would you have locked the rest of us away too?
She asked flatly.
Is that why you told us off when we said things that didn't fit your perfect little worldview?
Igneous shook his head frantically. No, I assure you we would not have, he said quickly. However, his daughters weren't convinced.
At least if we were all imprisoned, we'd have each other.
Limestone muttered, trying to look on the bright side. Minky's gaze moved back to the floor as her voice returned to its usual calmness.
I cannot even count how many times I contemplated ending my life by beating my head against the wall. After all, I had nothing down there but my own thoughts. Is that why the room was empty, Mama? You wanted to keep me from escaping your torment?
She waited for an answer, but the room was dead silent. Igneous and Cloudy were either choosing not to answer, or simply couldn't in the first place. Zinky Pie is Maud, by the way. Yeah, this.
Well, the only reason I didn't do it was because if Zinky Pie or any other siblings were ever thrown down there with me, I would protect them. But I guess it ended up being the other way around. They're the ones protecting me.
Can you stop fucking clicking? I have a twitchy finger right now.
They're the ones protecting me. Funny how life works out, huh? Mommy.
She snarled the last word through gritted teeth. Her parents chose not to question the name that had been mentioned, coming to the conclusion that it was a nickname for Maud.
When I got my cutie mark, we all finally knew what it was like to smile, to feel joy,
remarked Pinkie Pie, her chipper voice startling the other ponies in the room.
You did too. You joined into my little party. You had fun. I bet you didn't even know what that word meant. Imagine how much Minky would have enjoyed the celebration if you hadn't locked her away. Maybe she wouldn't be filled with so much hate.
She grinned evilly, which sent chills down her parents' spines, and her voice became calm.
And she'd be as normal as her sisters. Even Maudie enjoyed herself that day, once I convinced her to come out of her room. Don't you remember?
Okay, she's acting a little bit too much like Muffins Pinky, and I'm getting flashbacks. But, I don't know, I guess when they're killing their parents it's kind of reasonable. Her face faded into a blank expression.
Tell us, Mama. What excuse did you make to every pony in the village when they noticed I was missing? Some pony as loud and brightly colored as me would be pretty fucking hard to miss in a crowd of calm, quiet, boring ponies.
Applebloom stared at her mentor, having not expected her to curse in front of her. Cloudy was almost afraid to respond.
We just said you ran away. No ponies seem to care.
she admitted softly. Pinky's blank face disappeared in an instant, being replaced with a look of hatred and malice that resembled her sister's from earlier.
Did the village ever know of Minky's existence?
Limestone snapped, feeling just as angry, and Cloudy could only shake her head.
Just how long had you been planning on imprisoning her? Is that why you kept her out of every pony's view? So that she'd be off the radar?
The other mare shook her head again, trembling from head to hoof.
No, it's just that we didn't go anywhere very often, she explained. Whenever me and your father went to the market or anything like that, she wanted to stay home with the other parent.
Story checks out. I hated leaving the house.
Minky chimed in.
But Granny Pie knew I existed. What did you tell her the next time she visited?
Before Cloudy could say anything, Igneous chose to answer. We sent her letters saying that you had a terminal illness and died from it, he said shamefully. Fearful tears began to streak down Cloudy's face.
I'm so sorry, Minky, she urged. I'm sorry for everything I've ever done to you and your sisters. I should have let all of you live together and grow up by each other's sides. I should have...
She trailed off as Minky stared deep into her eyes, and without warning, suddenly struck her across the face as hard as she could.
Save your breath,
She growled menacingly.
I will never forgive you for what you have done. That's not a real apology. You're just trying to save your own pathetic skin.
The last word was practically a growl.
And don't think I didn't notice that little slip-up just now.
Marble approached the torture table, and Minky stepped aside to give her room. The most that either of you have ever done for us was make sure I was able to see. Remember, 'cause the glasses, she said. Having bad eyesight wouldn't be so harrowing if it didn't come from you, because you were the last pony I want to be anything like. I'm not the only one. Pinky hates having your blue eyes, and Limestone hates having one of Papa's yellow eyes. I keep forgetting that I gave Limestone heterochromia. Did you know that? These aren't new things. The two ponies in question nodded, and Marble began to pace between her victims. The first thing I did upon coming to Ponyville was complain about those ugly glasses, and Pinky told me about these things called eye contacts. No pony would ever know I had glasses. She went on. As you can see, we've also cut our manes and tails, as we do not want to be reminded of the rock farm, and by extension, everything you two have done to us. However, there's obviously still my contacts, Minky's sunken-in eyes and fear of underground rooms, our nightmares, our homicidal thoughts, our suicidal thoughts, our religious trauma, and Celestia knows what else. There is simply no reason for any of us to forgive you, no matter how many times you apologize. Do you understand that? Igneous and Cloudy chose not to respond, feeling an overwhelming amount of guilt and dread, which was Pinky's cue to turn and face the tool tray.
Speaking of homicidal thoughts, Mama and Papa, I'm sure you've been wondering what these tools are for. We're not just here to chat.
Another evil grin? Okay, whatever. And grin, a grin stretched across her face as she picked at one of the scalpels in her hoof.
Why don't I show you?
She cooed softly, her tone of voice making her captives even more nervous. Minky picked up on her fear and added,
What's wrong? Why should you be afraid of what an earthly creature could do to you? Don't you believe you'd go to heaven if we killed you? You are the evil ones. You should be afraid of the things in hell, not us.
Whatever we do to you today won't even come close to what you deserve. Maud grumbled at her parents, the slightest amount of anger in her voice as she watched Minky slowly approach their mother with the scalpel. Fuck. Making her cry and struggle desperately in her binds. Who's texting me? Upon feeling the blade pierce her flesh, the older mare desperately shrieked, Stop this at once. Of course, Minky ignored her for the time being, digging her scalpel underneath the cutie mark and slicing the hide away from the muscle. She then laid the bloody flesh face down on the tool tray to dry, before allowing Maud to repeat the process for the other flank with the same scalpel. Meanwhile, Marble and Limestone were busy removing their father's cutie marks, Pinky having insisted she give up her spot as there were not enough cutie marks for each sister to keep. It sounded like she had been planning this for a while. Minky finally met her mother's tear-filled eyes.
You do recall how many times I pleaded with you to free me from that room, do you not?
She asked in a sickly sweet voice, and then she giggled softly, grabbing the scalpel from Maud. She then reared up on her hind legs and held said blade against her mother's throat.
Go on, Mama. Tell them what that room was and why exactly it was put down there.
Clyde was now trembling again, her eyes welling up with even more tears, though these were from primal fear. It's a place where rock farmers can't work efficiently. She froze when Minky gently pushed the blade against her throat.
Or?
Claddy's tears immediately overflowed. To shield the village from freaks is something the rock farm has been using for more than a century. She breathed a silent sigh of relief as Minky finally pulled her scalpel away, turning her head to face the other bakers.
Of course it has.
She cooed in fake disappointment.
If that's the case, who knows how many ponies out there are in a similar boat to me. I'm unsure of what it's like in other disappointments rooms. But Mama allowed me to use her and Papa's private bathroom, as the secret door was located in the master bedroom. That's how I was so clean when I was discovered, teeth and all.
Mama and Papa always forbade us from entering the room,
Limestone admitted. Minky looked back at Cloudy Quartz, whose breath caught in her throat.
Do you not find it even just a tad strange that you called me evil many times, yet you told me I should have been grateful that I was stuck in there because the world was, and I quote, dangerous and horrible?
She asked.
The very family you were trying to raise counted as the outside world too, did it not? Or were you just feeding me those lies so I would be less likely to plead with you to let me out? Weren't you technically protecting them from me? And, oh, look at that. You and Papa also counted as the outside world.
Cloudy's breathing was heavy and shaky, afraid of what her daughter would do if she learned the truth. However, when Minky silently urged her with the blade, she forced herself to answer.
I was lying to you,
she said shamefully. She received glares from each of the bakers, even Trixie and Applebloom, finding Minky's to be the most frightening. The baker in question suddenly cried out in rage and punched her mother in the face as hard as she could, succeeding in knocking out a tooth. Trixie let out a heavy sigh, finding the courage to finally speak.
Minky Pie,
she piped up, and Minky turned to look at her. I was thinking that we could play the fish hook game with them. Minky grinned evilly, which was mirrored by the unicorn.
That's a brilliant idea,
she replied, her previously malicious tone disappearing in an instant. She then turned to Limestone, who was standing closest to the box of miscellaneous tools.
Winkie Pie, would you mind fetching them for me? I need at least...
She trailed off, doing the math in her head.
3 for each lip.
12 fish hooks coming right up,
chirped the other mare, opening the toolbox and digging around inside. Meanwhile, Maud met her mother's eyes.
First Minky, now Smoky Quartz. How many other siblings do we have hidden from us?
She asked.
And be truthful, because we will get it out of you one way or another.
I don't know if I mentioned this before, but I don't really have much practice doing Maud's voice, so she might sound a little off. Cloudy was still trembling, but she answered regardless. None, I assure you, she said firmly. Maud searched for any signs of lying, but when she didn't find any, she nodded once, feeling satisfied. Before any questions it, at this point in writing, there are no other Pie siblings. Just the ones that have already been mentioned. I don't want to make any more. I mean, I'm already, considering deleting fucking smoky quartz, but I don't know for sure. She looked over to see Limestone delivering 2 fish hooks to each baker, save for Trixie and Applebloom, who only got 1 individually.
Think about your questions carefully,
She said nonchalantly.
Who should play the game first, Mama or Papa?
Definitely Papa.
Pinky chirped, and words of agreement rang out from the other sisters. Each of the 12 fish hooks were attached to strings and shoved through the top and bottom lips of both victims, each baker either sitting down or reared up on their hind legs, or in Trixie's case, grabbing it with their magic, as they held the other end of their strings. They had played this game before. Every pony would ask 1 question each round, and if the question was answered wrong or not at all within a short time, the hook would be ripped out. Okay, this explanation is unnecessary because in a previous chapter the fish hook game was mentioned, I believe. But I don't feel like copy and pasting this explanation. Who wants to go first?
Me!
Squealed Pinky.
We should ask questions about our lives to see how well they know us.
That's when she heard Applebloom snicker to herself.
Okay, Papa. How did I get my cutie mark?
Chirped the party pony. You threw a party for the family in the silo.
And?
Igneous began to sweat. Why is my fucking eyelid itchy? What else did she want?
3, 2, 1.
Pinky counted down, and then she suddenly ripped the hook out as hard as she could, dropping the string to the floor as a small bit of fresh blood fell off the hook and onto the dirt. Do they still have a dirt floor at this point? I don't know, I feel like Pinky would have upgraded by now.
Do you seriously not remember me telling all of you about the sonic rain boom?
She giggled.
That's what poofed my hair out. I can't believe you never noticed an explosion. Did you think I was just being silly and or crazy?
Limestone got ready to pull her string, already assuming her father was going to get the next question wrong. And I couldn't think of anything, so I just left it blank for now. Minky decided to go next. Okay, this was back when it was 16, so yeah, 20. 20. You know, fuck it, 16.
How many years was I locked away?
She cooed softly. Igneous took a deep breath, trying to relax. 16? Minky ripped out the hook with no hesitation, raising an eyebrow.
No, 20.
What do I wear instead of glasses? Marble inquired thoughtfully. Igneous thought long and hard about his answer, trying to remember what she had referred to them as. 3, 2, she said calmly. Contacts. Marble grinned evilly, giving him a confident nod. That was a close one, wasn't it? Applebloom then giggled, facing Igneous at an angle that hit her flanks.
Can you remember what my cutie mark looked like?
She asked, playfully wiggling her string as a silent threat, but was careful not to rip it out. I can't actually remember what Applebloom's cutie mark is. I'm just gonna say an apple for now because that's basic. What was Applebloom's cutie mark? Damn it.
Go for the chest.
Okay, you know what? I don't feel like reading the rest of this. You can read it. Fuck it. There's, like I said, there's probably some inconsistencies, but I don't feel like fixing anything. God, that was a long fucking chapter. At least compared to everything else. A pie slice of life. Can't remember what this is. While Pinky is off doing something with Twilight in the Canterlot Library, I believe that's the time travel episode, Trixie and Apple Bloom decide to spend some time together and kill Snips and Snails on the same day, kidnapping them in the same manner as Cedar in Minky Pie's turn, just without the element of a crush. Or, I don't know, maybe one of them do have a crush on Apple Bloom. Who knows? Meanwhile, Marble and Limestone explore the Everfree Forest. I don't know if I mentioned this, but Limestone's thing is exploring because it's really hard to come up with shit for her character, and fucking Muffins doesn't help. Marble and Limestone explore the Everfree Forest where they come across Sakura and decide to kill her later, and eventually run into the castle of the two sisters, but on the way, they encounter Poison Joke and end up turning into their canon counterparts, with the only differences being their cutie marks, and in Limestone's case, eye color. I thought that would be a fun idea, so, you know. Minky spends time with Sweetie Belle Applebloom, where the latter tells her about Scootaloo's admiration for Rainbow Dash. This leads to Minky admitting that she pet Rainbow Dash's mane once and feels embarrassed about it. I don't know what Maud decides to do Lamau. That night, Twilight finally decides to investigate her friendship bracelet from Pinkie Pie, surprised and relieved to find out that it's not a microphone or tracking device after all, just a regular bracelet.
Marble! Marble! Wake up!
Came Limestone's voice, shaking her sister awake. That's dumb. The pony in question blearily opened her eyes, meeting Limestone's excited gaze.
What?
She mumbled.
Is the house on fire?
Yawning, she sat up in bed and rubbed her eyes.
No, but I just had the most fantastic idea.
Squeaked the other baker.
You know how I like to go exploring, right?
Marble grabbed her brush from the bedside table, smoothing her mane and tail.
All too well.
She groaned, a little more awake now.
I really don't like where this is going.
Well, I was thinking you and I should go explore,
Limestone said slowly, and her last 3 words came out as an excited squeal.
The Everfree Forest!
Marble was now fully awake.
As in the forest Pinky warned us about?
She asked hesitantly.
The one and only.
The forest that has a bunch of dangerous animals and plants in it?
Yeah, that's why it's so exciting.
This is a crazy idea.
I knew you'd say that, but every pony else is busy, so they can't take me. I know no pony would want me to go alone, right?
Well, yeah. Just how much have you thought about this?
Hey, Marble, look at these pretty flowers.
Came her sister's voice from a few feet behind her. Marble turned around to see Limestone standing next to a patch of blue flowers with leaf-shaped petals. Limestone picked one out of the ground with her hoof, inspecting it closely.
These look so cool,
she said thoughtfully.
You think Pinky ever saw these when going through the forest?
Marble quickly trotted up to her and smacked the flower out of her hoof, the back of her wrist as it accidentally grazed on one of the petals.
Limestone, are you crazy?
She spat.
What part of dangerous plants did you not understand? Any one of these things could kill you. You could already be on the road to death.
Limestone groaned in childless frustration, grabbing her camera from around her neck.
All right, fine. I guess I don't have to take it home with me and press it into my scrapbook,
she grumbled, snapping a photo of the patch of flowers.
Heads up.
God, she's making racket. She then realized that her sister was right, but she wasn't about to let her know she thought that. Instead, she would simply avoid the rest of the plants that she came across, never saying a word about them unless Marble asked a question.
Tessa.
and Limestone had traveled past the flowers for a few more minutes before they reached something unexpected. A hut. When Pinkie Pie and Apple Bloom had told them about a rhyming zebra that lived in the middle of the woods, they thought their friends had been joking. The two sisters briefly peeked into the window to see the zebra, catching her in the middle of creating some sort of potion. Marble, hesitant about the encounter, purposely stepped on a twig laying on the ground to alert Zecora of their presence. A few seconds before Limestone knocked on the door. They have a chat with Zecora before leaving.
I can't wait to kill her.
Marble raised an eyebrow, the surprise clear in her voice. Wait, really?
It's nothing against her. It's just that Pinkie was all like...
Her voice briefly became higher-pitched, imitating her sister.
Griffins have the most fantastic taste, Blinky. They taste like two animals at once.
I mean, can you imagine how zebras must taste? I can't imagine I'm the only baker who gets a little bored of eating ponies sometimes.
I suppose you're right. We should ask Pinkie if Zecora's on the list.
I'm glad we already killed that butterfly Pegasus. You never know what animal listening would want to go tattle to her.
You really believe she could talk to animals?
I mean, the giant rainbow explosion and the evil moon princess and the rhyming zebra all turned out to be real.
That's a really good point. Maybe Pinkie isn't as silly as we thought. They come across a lizard that reminds Limestone of Peppa, and she contemplates keeping it. Marble suggests they get one from a pet store instead, so it's safer.
So this is the castle Pinkie was talking about. It must be.
She said we should all come here if anything goes south, right?
Ah, yeah. I remember now. She did say that. Hopefully we won't have to, though. I like the way life is now.
Seed no evil. Can't wait till I'm done reading all these. I don't have to read all of them, but I want to. After going out to check the mail first thing in the morning, Big Macintosh informs his family that a relative named Babs Seed, a blank flank filly, is traveling to Ponyville all the way from Manhattan to stay for a week. Babs is rude to each of them after the first day. I assume on the first day she's all shy and stuff. But despite this, Applebloom still decides to try and befriend her cousin, telling her that Applejack was a late bloomer as well, practically forcing Sweetieville and Scootaloo to do the same when she invites Babs to their clubhouse. After she decides to start bullying the Crusaders and even physically attacks them like her own bullies in the city, teenage druggies. I assume that's Short Fuse, Rouge, and Branchase the Bow. Scootaloo. No, Applebloom. Applebloom decides it's time to enact Pinkie Pie's go-to plan. The party is unsuccessful, but the torture and murder are obviously not. Naturally, before Babs' absence is noticed, Applebloom lets her brother and grandmother know that her cousin wasn't enjoying her stay in Ponyville and decided to go home early. She then drops off some Babs-themed apple fritters, claiming that Pinkie made them to celebrate the arrival and pretending to be sad when she finds out that Babs went home early. Okay.
It's kind of weird that your oldest sister let you come to Ponyville with all these disappearances occurring, don't you think? Bulbs are going missing too, you know.
And by fools, I mean fillies and colts, not babies. That's how I always mean fools. Also, I forgot to mention that Babs actually has two sisters, both Jazz and Sunflower, and Jazz as a teenager, because I felt that would fit her the most. I mean, I heard Sunflower was pretty bitchy. Should I mention Babs' backstory? I don't know. Her parents are the Aunt and Uncle Orange.
She's always been irresponsible. It's nothing new. Don't worry, youngin'. We'll make sure he ain't nabbed up by them kidnappers.
Yeah, I'm not great at Granny Smith either. Oh, well.
I have an idea on how to cheer her up.
Apple Bloom said menacingly. It wasn't very menacing, was it?
I have an idea on how to cheer her up.
Apple Bloom said menacingly, but then her tone changed on a dime and became significantly more cheerful.
Pinkie Pie can help me throw a party.
Her friends grinned, Sweetie Belle nodding her head in approval. Scootaloo then joked,
That's a great idea, Blooms. I mean, if you don't like a Pinkie Pie party, you're probably a psycho.
Neither of them thought anything of Apple Bloom's nervous laugh.
Psycho.
She thought,
Funny you say that. Consarn it, Granny. I really hope the Crusaders and I would have made a friend out of Babs. She could have been a 5th member for our club. Don't you fret, little filly. It's not about the quantity of friends you have, but rather the quality.
Apple Bloom paused for a moment, thinking it over.
I guess you're right. I just wish you hadn't decided to go home early.
Max says she went home early. Shit.
Yeah, it was the strangest thing. She finally blew up in my face about me having a cutie mark.
I guess she already has a cutie mark by this point? I don't know.
I already had my suspicions that she was jealous, and then she ran off to the train station saying that she wanted to go home. I tried to follow her, but she wasn't having it. Oh my, that's rather unfortunate. Hopefully one day she gets that feisty attitude under control and comes back for another visit.
And preferably in time for the next reunion.
Oh, about the reunion. You think maybe we can invite Pinkie Pie this time round? I know she's not technically family, but I've gotten real close with her over the years. Not to mention Sweetie Belle and Scootaloo are practically my sisters too at this point.
Oh, shoot, Apple Bloom, I don't mind you inviting them at all. It's like you said, they're basically family. Besides, I think I remember my relative Goldie Delicious saying something about the apples and pies being distantly related. So you can technically get away with it. I just heard a door open. What does Google Maps think I give a shit about? Fucking notifications. Okay. Claire, you bitch. What are you doing? Oh my god, go away.
Wow, is that true? I didn't know that at all. I'm going to tell Pinkie Pie right away.
Hold on there, whippersnapper. It's a bit late for that. Yeah, don't you want to stay for dinner?
Oh, right. I'll tell him first thing in the morning.
Gotta tell Pinkie Pie. I'm gonna tell my sister right away. Okay, that's good enough. Where's chapter 25? And okay, there's a bunch missing. So, whatever, I don't give a shit. Drop Dead Gorgeous. I believe this is Rarity? Yes. Summary. Pinkie Pie draws Rarity's number, and Limestone decides to lead the baking. After Rarity's confirmed dead, her parents finally decide to move away to Canterlot, obviously taking Sweetie Belle with them, losing all hope that a once beautiful and safe town is no longer a good place to be, and deciding that it's time to go. Scootaloo and Applebloom were devastated at the loss of their friend, trying to get her to stay, but she insisted her parents had made up their minds. Pinkie Pie asks, Apple Bloom to remove Sweetie Belle's page from the binder of victims, and the filly secretly feels relieved.
You're really telling me that you've never been to the spa, darling?
No, I haven't.
I'm realizing now that I didn't go into enough detail before, so I'm surprised I sold you on it.
Tessa! Stop fucking working. God damn it. I was about to make a Hassan Piker joke, but I don't know. Stop! I'm trying to record. Okay? Don't look at me like that. Sit.
No, I just wanted to spend time with you before anything happens.
Rarity chuckled nervously.
That's rather sweet of you, Lemmy.
Don't call me that.
Limestone said calmly, her voice a near whisper and somewhat menacing. Remove horn, the heart iron thing again, remove cutie marks. All of a sudden, an unknown liquid dripped onto her nose. At first, she assumed it was water until she realized just how thick it was, streaking down her face at a slower pace than it should have. Her heart dropped upon recognizing its sweet scent and familiar sparkle, suddenly letting out a terrified shriek. She began struggling desperately in her binds, whining pathetically. She attempted to use her horn, only for an intense pain to jolt to her forehead.
What's going on?
She cried out to no pony in particular, or at least that's what she assumed. At that moment, a high-pitched giggle rang out in the darkness, and Meredy immediately froze.
What?
She breathed, terrified beyond all belief.
Pinkie Pie, is that you? Are you ready?
The baker replied, and a match was lit from out of nowhere. Rarity sighed loudly in relief. The knowledge that at least one of her friends was with her in this creepy environment, giving her immense comfort. Still, though, she found it a bit strange that Pinkie didn't seem scared and confused. How long had she been awake for? Before her.
Goodness, am I glad to hear your voice, Pinkie Pie,
she said, even smiling a bit.
Are you tied up as well? Where are we right now? I think some blood is dripping onto my face, but I can't seem to move my arms to wipe it away. I really hope it's just oil or something. Yes, that's also gross, but at least it doesn't have any disturbing implications.
What do you guys think of my Rarity impression? I don't know if it's, the best or anything, but it's fun to do. The lit match moved to the right, revealing Pinkie's face smiling up at her, though it wasn't a very good light source.
We're in the basement beneath Sugar Cube Corner,
she announced, walking a few feet away and lighting a nearby candle.
You're gonna help me make cupcakes.
Rarity began trembling as she noticed what looked like a painted pony skull on the wall in the dim light. She really hoped it was just a morbid decoration, but it didn't really fit Pinkie's tastes. Maybe one of her sisters?
Basement? Cupcakes? What do you mean?
She asked, her voice merely a whimper. Pinkie was still just as chipper as before, but now it had a more threatening aura to it now that the skull was in full view. Her next words didn't help whatsoever.
You're gonna be my special ingredient,
she said simply, lighting another candle on the other side of the room. A third candle was lit a few feet away in front of the table that Rarity was strapped to, but as Pinkie was nowhere near it, Rarity's heart skipped a beat. Watching her friend intently, yet fearfully, the unicorn flinched as the light bulb was suddenly turned on directly above her.
Who's there?
She squeaked, her eyes darting around the room. With that, 5 other ponies walked up from behind the torture table. Who else but the other bakers? Most of them had evil sneers on their faces, which made Rarity's stomach drop. Apple Bloom was the first to speak up, her upbeat demeanor contrasting against her fellow killers, save from Pinkie Pie.
Hey, Rarity, you know how Fluttershy's missing?
She asked. Rarity was almost afraid to respond.
Yes, of course,
she said slowly.
Do you know what happened to her? Please tell me you do. Of course, we killed her,
the filly replied nonchalantly.
She was turned into pastries just like you'll be. Come on, Applebloom, darling. This isn't funny. Please tell me the truth. I don't know, Rarity.
Pinkie piped up.
It was pretty funny when she tried to use a stare on us, only for her eyes to get stabbed out.
She let out an unusually maniacal laugh that frightened Rarity to her very core. The unicorn shook her head desperately, as difficult as it was to do with her forehead tied down.
No, Pinkie, you're really scaring me. Please stop with this pranking nonsense. Now really isn't the time for it.
Pinkie frowned, tilting her head in confusion.
How come all my friends assume I'm pulling a prank on them when I bring them down here?
She asked, and then her smile returned.
Oh well, the point is, our secret ingredient is other ponies, and we're out, so we need you to get more.
My voice is croaking, I can hear it,
What are you going to do to me?
asked Rarity, trembling from head to hoof.
Is this payback for something?
Pinkie giggled, though it sounded far more innocent than her previous laugh.
We told you, we're gonna put you in our pastries.
She squeaked, hopping a single time.
That is, unless you want to join us? We could really use your design expertise.
Rarity suddenly became enraged, all fear leaving her body at once.
You kill my friend, cut off my horn, and then expect me to join your disgusting... Ugh!
She was cut off by a punch in the face delivered by Marble Pie, who was equally enraged. My fucking throat, God. Don't you dare yell at my sister, she snarled, and even the other bakers felt a bit frightened. You're going to pay dearly for that, Queenie.
Would you like to do the honors of branding her, dear sister?
Pinkie asked, holding up the now ready-to-use branding iron with enough space on the handle for her sister to grab. Marble gave her an evil grin, taking it out of her hooves. Indeed I do. Applebloom followed her over to the torture table.
Hey, Rarity, remember that time Sweetie Belle wanted to live without you as a sister? I guess her wish is gonna come true.
Wait, hold on. Okay, never mind. I'm dumb. Ignore me. That's when Minkie Pie walked up to her.
Not for long, though. We're gonna kill her, too.
She added. Rarity instinctively flinched.
No! You're evil! Both of you! All of you! You're supposed to be friends with her! With me!
She began to cry.
What is this? This is all just one big nightmare. This isn't real. Princess Luna will save me soon.
Marble Pie ends up sewing Rarity's mouth shut like before. And then
She always struck me as dainty and weak, but she's got quite a bit of fight in her, doesn't she? Yeah, I honestly always admired her spunk, so once she's gone, I think I'll kinda miss it.
Trixie's got enough spunk for every pony in Ponyville, and again, spunk is funny because that in British that means cum. Marble pied, and then she chuckled menacingly. Well, the ones that are left anyway. And I don't feel like reading any more of this, so bye.